Los Angeles Rams fans, I don't know about you, but it feels like we are standing at a major crossroads regarding our future under center. The front office has officially confirmed that Stetson Bennett and Ty Simpson are locked in a heated training camp battle for the primary backup job behind Matthew Stafford. This competition is fascinating because it marks a total shift in our long-term plan for life after Stafford. And honestly, the more details come out, the harder it is to ignore what is going on behind the scenes. My name is Lucas, so smash that like button, subscribe, and comment your city below. Let's get into it. Something is nagging at me regarding the state of the Los Angeles Rams quarterback room, and we need to have a serious conversation about it today. The latest development is that Stetson Bennett and Ty Simpson are officially locked in a pivotal training camp battle to determine who secures the backup job behind Matthew Stafford. Bennett enters his fourth year within the complex system designed by Sean Mcvay, having transitioned from a rookie navigating significant off-field hurdles to a player who provided a glimmer of hope with his game-winning drive against the Chargers last preseason. Simpson, meanwhile, arrived as our first-round selection with the weight of expectations resting firmly on his shoulders. This competition is not just about a depth chart spot. It represents a fundamental shift in our long-term strategy for life after Stafford. Fans are feeling a distinct sense of anxiety because we understand that while Bennett possesses the institutional knowledge to act as a secondary coach, Simpson represents the fresh, higher-ceiling alternative the front office clearly desires for the future. And the more I look at this, the harder it is to ignore the looming financial pressure of the restricted free agent process, which forces us to wonder if Bennett has finally hit his professional ceiling. The fan base remains torn between respecting the veteran for his loyalty to our scheme and acknowledging the cold reality that the roster must evolve. If Simpson manages to consistently outperform the veteran during these upcoming training camp practices, we have to consider if we are witnessing the final chapter of Bennett in Los Angeles. Before we jump to conclusions about his future on the payroll, we need to analyze the specific, hidden performance metrics from recent OTAs that might suggest this competition is much closer than any of us originally anticipated. The most surprising detail currently circulating is that the front office has quietly initiated private workouts for veteran free agent signal callers, directly signaling that neither Bennett nor Simpson has fully secured the trust of Sean Mcvay as the primary backup. We arrived at this crossroads because the organization grew concerned that relying solely on internal development might leave our offensive production severely crippled should Matthew Stafford miss any game action. Looking at the numbers, Bennett carries a modest salary cap hit this season, yet his history of missed time due to personal leaves of absence remains a significant factor in the team's ongoing search for stability. History suggests that this front office values high-floor reliability above raw potential, a philosophy that previously guided our roster construction during championship runs. Here's the thing nobody wants to say. The coaching staff is likely terrified that if we head into a pivotal divisional matchup with an unproven backup, the entire season could spiral away in a matter of weeks. They are looking for a veteran who understands the nuances of the West Coast offense without needing constant guidance in the huddle. This creates a difficult environment for a first-round selection like Simpson, who is now learning that professional opportunities are never guaranteed by draft status alone. The internal consensus seems to be that while Simpson possesses the physical arm talent we crave, he still struggles with the high-level diagnostic processing required to navigate pressure in real time. Consequently, the Rams are balancing the desire to groom a future successor against the immediate need to secure a winning record this year. While we wait for training camp to reveal the winner of this internal skirmish, remember that the front office will prioritize championship readiness over sentimentality every single time when it comes to the most important position on the field. The urgency surrounding this quarterback situation cannot be overstated, because the Rams are essentially deciding who will be the steward of our franchise should the unthinkable occur during the upcoming season. This is not merely about a secondary roster spot, but rather a cold calculation of our future stability behind a legendary starter. Let's be real, the financial implications are significant, as keeping two developing prospects consumes valuable cap space that could otherwise be utilized to bolster our veteran defensive core. If we commit to Simpson, we effectively signal a pivot toward a new developmental philosophy that renders Bennett surplus to requirements, directly altering our depth chart composition. This roster shuffle carries weight when we face high-stakes divisional clashes against teams like the Seahawks or the Cardinals, where having a reliable signal caller who can manage the clock and protect the football is often the thin line between a playoff seed and an early exit. If the offense stagnates in these critical mid-season matchups, the front office will undoubtedly be held accountable for any perceived mismanagement of the backup position. Our window to compete for a championship remains wide open, but that dream hinges on our ability to maintain elite performance levels even when our primary starter is forced to step away. We need a clear, defined path to success that does not leave us vulnerable in key conference games. Should the coaching staff decide that Simpson represents a superior long-term asset, the immediate impact would be a total overhaul of the signal calling hierarchy, forcing us to move on from a player who has spent years absorbing the nuances of our playbook. Every snap in training camp now functions as a high-pressure interview, determining whether we have the necessary depth to withstand a grueling 17-game schedule. Proponents of this quarterback competition argue that fostering internal rivalry is the most effective way to elevate the entire offensive room, ensuring that neither Stetson Bennett nor Ty Simpson settles into complacency while learning from a legend like Matthew Stafford. The upside here is clear. We gain a battle-tested backup who understands Sean McVay's specific nuances, or we accelerate the development of a high-ceiling prospect who could eventually anchor this franchise's future. Conversely, the downside remains that splitting precious training camp repetitions between two developmental signal callers can hinder the rhythm of the second-team offense, potentially leaving us vulnerable if we are forced to rely on a backup for an extended stretch during the regular season. And honestly, league insiders and analysts observing from afar are suggesting that teams like the Minnesota Vikings or the Jacksonville Jaguars are monitoring these reps closely to see if either player becomes expendable before the roster cut-down date. While some national pundits claim this is a definitive pivot point for our future, I find that narrative a bit overblown given that training camp battles often fluctuate based on daily practice adjustments rather than long-term mandates. The way I see it, the front office is simply doing their due diligence by testing both men against the intensity of an actual camp environment, and we should be encouraged by the depth we are trying to build. I think the notion that we are already writing off Bennett is premature, as his familiarity with the playbook provides a floor that a younger player simply cannot match yet. We need to remain patient and watch how these two handle the pressure of the upcoming preseason games, as that will tell us much more than any individual OTA drill or speculative report ever could about their true potential. When we consider the future of the Rams, it is clear that these front office decisions are setting the trajectory for our post-Stafford era, shaping how we intend to compete in this league for several years to come. This is where it gets real, as we must reconcile the comfort of having an experienced hand like Stetson Bennett on the roster with the high expectations surrounding Ty Simpson as a long-term prospect. As fans, you should feel a sense of cautious optimism, knowing that our leadership is prioritizing both immediate stability and future development to ensure that we are never left without a viable path forward under center. We have seen how quickly windows can close in this sport, so evaluating this depth chart with such scrutiny is exactly what we need to remain competitive regardless of who is calling the signals. This battle is not merely about a backup role, but rather a referendum on how we value institutional knowledge against raw potential in a system as demanding as the one our staff runs. We must ask ourselves if the steady hand of a veteran provides the safety net required for a deep playoff run, or if the fresh ceiling offered by a high draft selection is worth the inherent growing pains of youth. Deciding between these two players is the most critical hurdle of this summer, and your perspective on their development will define our collective expectations for the entire season ahead. Between Stetson Bennett and Ty Simpson, which one would you choose to be the primary backup for this upcoming season? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Whose house? I'll see you in the next one.